7:03 on Friday morning, October 3rd. We're at 52 degrees now, going to the low 70s for highs today. Some spots are in the 40s yet again today. Good morning. I'm Michelle Basch.
And I'm Kyle Cooper. The top local stories we're following for you this hour. Shutdown 2025 on WTOP. The Senate plans to vote again today on a short-term spending bill that would end the government shutdown, but there's little optimism that it will be approved. Our team coverage begins with WTOP's Mitchell Miller today on the Hill.
I realize that my Democrat colleagues are facing pressure from members of their far-left base, but they're playing a losing game here.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune renewing his call for Democrats to join Republicans and pass the continuing resolution that would extend federal spending through November 21st. It's already been defeated on previous votes. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar says Democrats remain open to negotiations on health care issues they've been pressing.
Unfortunately, right now, our Republican colleagues are not working with us to find a bipartisan agreement.
The impasse continues, with many federal workers wondering when the shutdown will end and whether they will be laid off. On Capitol Hill, Mitchell Miller, WTOP News.
There are obvious economic impacts that come with a government shutdown. Everything from local businesses to the travel industry are impacted during a shutdown. But what about during the long term? WTOP's Grace Newton speaks with a local finance professor about that.
The long-term consequences are hidden, and they're much worse than the short-term consequences.
Assistant Professor of Finance at University of Virginia's Darden School of Business, Christoph Herpfer, says after the government shuts down, tens of thousands of highly qualified federal workers quit their jobs with the government for the private sector, and they're replaced by outside contractors.
The cost for these outside contractors actually is 2.5 times as high as payroll from the federal employees who quit.
That cost ultimately gets passed down to the taxpayer.
This is really a bipartisan issue.
Grace Newton, WTOP News.
In other news, keeping transgender girls off girls' sports teams and out of girls' locker rooms is the goal of a new directive from Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin that would override policies at the city and county level. Details from WTOP's Dan Ronan.
Governor Youngkin's executive directive instructs the Virginia Board of Health to develop regulations that would prevent biological males from participating on female-only athletic teams or competitions. It would also prevent biological males from using private female-specific spaces such as dressing rooms or showers. In a statement along with the order, Youngkin said, "It is an embarrassment and a tragedy that certain individuals continue to turn a blind eye to these clear violations of the law and of the health, safety, privacy, dignity, and respect of Virginians. This must stop." During his nearly 4 years as governor, Youngkin has advanced policies restricting transgender youth and adults from activities related to their gender identity. Dan Ronan, WTOP News.
Now, in July, you may remember the U.S. Department of Education found 5 Northern Virginia school districts in violation of Title IX for allowing students to use bathrooms and locker rooms that correspond to their gender identity.
A nonprofit dedicated to freedom of expression says book censorship has become, in its words, rampant. WTOP's Kate Ryan reports.
In its report on book bans in school districts across the country, PEN America found there were 6,870 book bans, with the most occurring in Florida and Texas. Teslin Magnuson, a senior advisor of the Freedom to Read program, on why PEN says books are pulled from school library shelves.
A lot of people are removing books because they're afraid. They're afraid of the rhetoric. They're afraid of the chilled environment for speech. And so they're complying in advance.
Maryland had 6 book bans. Virginia had 97. Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange, first published in the 1960s, was the most banned book. And best-selling author Stephen King had the highest instance of book bans with 206. Kate Ryan, WTOP News.
Coming up on WTOP.
Finding a great Halloween costume on a budget. I'm Brennan Hazelton.
Traffic and weather in 30 seconds.